And we are back, and we just finished watching 2022's Holy Spider, clocking in at 1 hour and 58 minutes. This isn't rated on IMDb, but I'm going to say PG-13 R.
No, definitely R.
R?
Yeah, maybe even NC-17 for that one scene in the car.
Car?
There was a prostitute doing something to some guy in a
car. Right. Early. Yeah, I forgot about that. That happened so far, that happened right at the get that I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that in a regular movie.
Okay, yeah, and also the themes in this film, they're not for children, that's for sure. This is not.
Oh God, yeah.
So this is the story that is loosely based on real life events that happened, where a man took it upon himself to cleanse the street of corrupt women between 2000 and 2001. In this particular story, we have a journalist who comes to the city to investigate and figure out what is going on. She's played by Zar Amir-Ebrahimi. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. She plays Rahimi, and she's sort of kind of like a no-nonsense kind of woman, but she's still this fragile thing in a very male-dominated world. And there's some scenes in this that are really hard to watch.
Yeah, definitely. She does not belong in this world. She is very matter-of-fact, very forceful, does not take anybody's shit, and this society is, hey, you're a woman, you got to take our shit.
Yeah.
And she just has to deal with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are some scenes where it's like you fear for her.
Yes.
And it's like absolute helplessness.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about the scenes where she is interacting with the killer. Mm-hmm. Like the police chief. That was the thing I was alluding to.
Yeah, that was tough to watch because it was, he even says, he knows. He's like, what are you going to do? Call the police?
Yeah. And apparently her reputation's already damaged because
of some gossip.
Some gossip where her former boss was trying to get with her, and she didn't want anything to do with that, and of course
she reported him and proceeded to get fired.
Reported him, and she gets fired. Yeah,
right. And even her friend that she's working with at this news bureau is like, "Oh, I heard that you guys were carrying on or something."
Yeah, history's written by the victors there. So and
for sure,
the people in charge,
they're
the ones who are going to be the authority of what happened, even if it's just a load of crap.
Yeah.
Which is. That's a theme throughout. She's throughout the whole thing. She's just like, they're not doing anything. This is all a big cover up.
Yeah, it's corruption. They're going to get him off. Yeah, he's going to get off.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. What did you think?
I thought this was really good.
Yeah.
This is a very well told story. Wasn't bored at all. There are very tense moments, and you feel for
victims.
You feel for the victims. You feel for Zahari. Mm-hmm. You feel for Zahari trying to get this story out, despite the fact that everybody just seems to want to
bury it,
or just give it some sort of basic gloss of a cover, like, oh yeah, the spider killer killed again.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Another body found. That's it. Nothing really being done at all.
Yeah, she says that towards the start when her character's introduced. It's like there's been 16 murders and no clues yet.
Yeah.
The first time that she meets the policeman.
Well, I think by then it was only 10.
No, right, yeah.
So he kills 6 more people while she's investigating, and it's sort of like almost clockwork. It's like a Thursday night.
Yeah.
It's time for another dead prostitute.
Yeah. It's interesting too. Did you notice the public opinion? At the beginning, towards the beginning, there was a scene where I think he's at the newsstand, and one of the guys is like, I've told my daughters they can't go out at night. Yeah. Right. But then at the end, when the killer's revealed, you have all this public support of the killer.
Yeah. Because he said he was doing a service by taking care of these corrupt women. So he's going to have, especially in a hyper-religious society, It's funny how some of the rules are sort of like pushed aside in people's minds for other things, like the what was it? I guess like the Aman or whatever.
The judge.
No. Originally, remember they visit that guy at at like a mosque. He had the big hat, and he basically said all life is sacred.
That was the judge.
That was the judge too?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's basically saying, yeah, well, all life is sacred, so we're doing everything we can.
Yeah.
And that's a little horse crap.
Yeah.
It's like, he meant to say all life is sacred, but come on, they're dirty whores. We don't care about those.
Yeah.
And
people.
That was like the feeling and the sentiment of just about everybody else in this town, in the city, except for obviously the parents of
one of the victims
of one of the that we know of.
Yeah.
And
well, you could also in that scene too, you could see because the wife is like, I'm glad she's dead, but then the husband was like, I love that. I raised her with so much love. And you could see the hurt, but at the same time you could see kind of like the letting go, not because even she's like, the reporter's like, why didn't you go to the court? And it's like, why would you drag that out? They also have now to raise their granddaughter on their own. He's an older man, and that's a huge responsibility. These people live in absolute poverty.
Yeah.
So, but also to highlight the scene where the reporter goes to one of the victims' mothers, and at first she disavows the daughter, right?
Yeah.
But then when she's in the house with her, she basically says, you really think they're going to find this guy? He's doing their job.
Exactly, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
That was the underlying story
that
these cops did not care about this at all, and the only reason why they cared about it at the end
was because they were getting so much pressure.
Was because she Zahiri put her life on the line to bring this dude down, and it's sort of like
she wasn't letting it go.
I guess we gotta do something now. She's still alive.
Yeah.
If she had died, she would have just been another death. Right. Yeah, they probably would have twisted it like, oh, she was a reporter, but then she decided to turn to prostitution or something. They would have made sense, and they would have just told that her partner to just either shut up or we're going to beat you to death or something like that.
Right. Yeah, they didn't seem very much into finding who this killer was. Everybody seemed very la-di-da, laissez-faire about it.
Yeah, it's like, seriously, it's like the lady said, he's doing their job for them, or he's making life easier for them.
Right. And then the other guy, the older gentleman who was like, I don't know, like a public servant who was like cleaning the parks, he was like, oh, it's the guy on the motorbike.
Yeah. He's like, I know all about it. And his reasoning for not really, I guess, coming forward was, I've been in trouble with the police, and I just want to live the rest of my life in peace.
Right.
Meaning if he probably would have went there, they
would have shut him up.
They would have shut him up, kicked his asses, or taken his job away.
Yeah. This was a tough watch. I mean, it was excellent storytelling, tight, tense, really no lag. All the characters were really well done. Even the Holy Spider himself kind of was just, Saeed was just, like, you could, again, not making excuses for the behavior, but you can see like this mental deterioration as well interwoven right into the story, and how he really didn't think he was doing anything wrong, and he didn't.
Well, he had this delusion in his head that God meant something more for him, and he was so depressed that the war ended.
Right, he says that, yeah.
Because everybody got to become a martyr except for him. He left the war without a scratch.
Yeah.
So in his mind, it was like, God must have some other plan for me.
Right. And this was it.
I'm put on this world to do his bidding. And I don't know what exactly it was. You mentioned something that you read in an article about the story that this is based on.
Yeah, the real
life.
They
don't really veer into that
in the film.
No. As far as like a reasoning why he decided
that this was his plan.
God's plan for me is to kill prostitutes. It's just sort of what he says.
Yeah.
And there's something strange about that, and that maybe I believe he believed that, But there was those moments where
like with Sogra, right? Where he's sniffing her.
He seemed to be getting some sort of
pleasure
out of it.
Yeah.
And when he goes to the reporter, he says, "No, I felt nothing. I felt nothing." But we know that's a lie,
right? But then he also said, like, didn't he also tell the reporter, like, if I didn't do it, I couldn't sleep?
Yeah.
So that was also like
he said he enjoyed
cleansing.
He enjoyed doing this, but that when he was doing it, it wasn't like he felt anything.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't any sort of arousal or relief or anything like that. It was just God's will. But there was those moments where he was just acting very...
Yeah, and you just couldn't tell. You just couldn't tell. I mean, he definitely...
He was definitely having some kind of mental breaks, like when
the
last prostitute was laughing at him
right
after he had killed her, or when he thinks it's raining and it's not. Or
Right.
I'm not even sure about...
the scene with Haji, if that really happened.
Yeah, if that really happened or if he just made that up.
Yeah, you can't tell.
The way it was filmed...
I mean, it felt real, but then...
like right afterwards, you see him, and he's just standing there with his hands up, and he looks deranged.
Yeah. I mean, even with those like ambiguities, it still worked. The film was... I'm going to be thinking about this a lot. I mean, this was kind of a treat, and just the fact that the storytelling was so compelling just added to that whole watch experience for me. I was, from the beginning, taken in, and I think at one point, like, I had to stop the film and have commentary with you. I didn't want to miss what was going on, but I was like, hey, can we just talk about this?
Yeah, that line about how everybody got to be a martyr but me.
Yeah. We were like, what in the hell?
Religion messes people up.
Yeah. And not in a good way. Not in a good way.
If you get, it's true of anything. If you get too wrapped up in anything.
What's that line from Inherit the Wind? Ignorance and fanaticism need constant feeding.
Yeah. Or always hungry.
Or always hungry.
Forever need feeding.
Yeah. Oh, God. This was something. This was, I feel like now I want to see more stuff from this director, but it was filmed really nicely.
Yeah.
Really
very
nicely
done.
It captured the whole, like, there's that scene in the beginning where you see the city, and you kind of said, like, where the title is, you were like, that looks like a spider's web.
Like a spider, or the way the lights in the streets were branching out. Yeah, very nicely shot film. The darkness of the streets at night.
Yeah,
like when that dude's just following her on the motorcycle,
yeah.
Or when she's just going with the
other reporter. Oh no, with the killer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's disorienting. Every street looks like an alley, just one alley turning into another. I don't know.
And her other reporter friend lost sight of her. Yeah. Just couldn't figure out where she was.
And it wasn't like he was being subtle in the way he was following.
No.
He was like literally 30 feet behind her in a car, and he still lost them in this maze of streets.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's how it is over there.
I'm sure it is.
But yeah, it was.
I doubt
it was disorienting.
I doubt there's city planning.
Yeah, and he would bring them to his house.
Can we talk about that? That was another thing. I was like, dude, when his wife comes home after he's just killed Sogra, I was like, oh my God. But you know what?
And that was like one of those things where it's like, is this something that is like exciting him? Because remember, he saw her foot sticking out of the carpet, and he was just like, he was like being intimate with his wife,
having sex with the wife.
When he sees the foot, he's just like, yeah.
But so, question for you: if at that point of the story it had veered into the wife actually seeing the body, do you think she still would have been on board with him? Because after it comes out that he's the killer and he gets arrested, she's adamant about defending him, that these women are corrupt, that they're worthless, they were.
Yeah, I think she would have been on board. She would have been fine with it. She would have defended him. She would have probably asked him to stop, but I don't think she would, because nobody
She wouldn't
cared.
condemn him.
Yeah, nobody cared. Everybody was just like, your father's doing this city a service.
Yeah.
Here's free food.
Yeah.
People, and like that was another disturbing thing where the kids just like, 10 or 20 people are asking me if I'm going to carry on my father's work. And who knows? We'll see.
Oh God.
We'll see. And he's got the whole thing laid out. My dad told me exactly how he did it. Put the knee on the chest and for him.
I also thought it was funny how he was like, he would give them money, and as they were counting, he never gave them money. He would show it to them. Like, I guess the experienced prostitutes were like, show me your money.
Yeah. Yeah, he made it sound like he had this like super system down where it was all clean and respectful and whatnot.
Yeah.
Whereas it was actually kind of messy.
Yeah.
I'm sure there were some instances where everything went smooth.
I think with especially the ones that were like junkies.
Especially the ones that were like the weak ones. But like that last lady was big.
She fought him.
She put up a fight.
Yeah. And you didn't see that previously.
No. Yeah, because she apparently was doing opium or whatever, but she did not look like the other ones.
No, she was a big girl. And it was funny because in the beginning, she sort of turns him down. She's like, I'm supposed to get on your scooter, get out of here.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
He should have found another wispy one because she...
Yeah.
Yeah, she messed up his wrist. Well, he messed up his wrist trying to move her body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she was a big girl. She's a heavy girl.
I'm like shocked that he got her on that motorcycle after she was dead.
Yeah. I agree with you. I still can't believe he would bring them to his home.
Yeah.
His home. That I'm like,
I thought he had like, because you brought up a point. He's like, oh, he's a builder. He probably has access to like empty
different
buildings,
things.
or maybe he has got an office or something. But to his house. He definitely believed he had God on his side.
Yeah. And even up until the end, because I don't think he expected the things to pan out the way they did. Like, he really thought something else was going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting how the system also kind of gave him grace, because he was supposed to get 100 lashes, but did he?
No, he's like having a fun time.
Yeah.
I think that's why he really was thinking he was going to
coast here.
Kind of coast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, good movie.
Great movie.
Definitely worth seeing.
1 to 10, what would you give this?
I'd give this an 8.
I am going to give this an 8.5. I think, the story is compelling. The actors all do a brilliant job. It's interesting to see a story set in that part of the world. We don't really.
Yeah.
I think we should look at more cinema in that vein. I think it's interesting.
Well, this one was good. I mean, we watched The Girl Walks Home Alone tonight.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
That sucked.
Yeah. But stuff like this, I think we should look for more stuff like this, because it was compelling. And again, I don't feel like we look at filmmakers from that part of the world as much. And it would be nice to see that perspective. It's interesting that in the year of our Lord, 2023, there are societies that are not caught up in a way, because of the religious fervor, because of the zealotry, because of
just
the way
orthodox conservative.
Yes, I was going to say because of the power structure.
Women are just
property
or servants.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting little bits of just societal norms. Like when the reporter first comes to the town, the whole exchange at the hotel desk was interesting.
Yeah, she didn't have a husband.
She didn't have a husband, so they didn't have a reservation for her or a room for her. And she's like, but I have a reservation. And she's like, I'm a journalist. And then they come back, oh, yes, we fixed it. You can have a room. Like, I wonder why all of a sudden that was okay.
I think because maybe the journalist has the power to make a big stink about something. And whereas if it was just a housewife or something, or obviously not a housewife, or just some random girl, then it's something else. They have no defense. It's
right.
Like,
and also kind of the fear of the guy where he's like, cover your hair.
Yeah,
that was also interesting.
Yeah, it seemed like, because pretty much everybody, even the prostitutes, were covering their hair, but they would let some of it out.
Yes,
and that was almost like a
sign,
like
or
putting out your shingle. It was that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's the sign of. Well, look at your mom.
Yeah,
she was. Yeah, only whores were their hair down.
Whores and loose women.
Whores and loose women.
Yeah,
their hair,
and that's such a. You're absolutely right.
Your mother wasn't Muslim.
No, but it's funny because how did that stay with me this whole time? Like it's funny when people see me with my hair down. They're like, "Oh, you look different. What's different?" I'm like, "What do you think is different?" I mean, even for our wedding, I was defiant. I did a half up, half down too. Yeah, it's interesting how certain, what would you call it, norms or things.
It's just customs.
Yeah.
You know,
just
they
bleed through, and
they have their beliefs. I always found it strange. Like, how did these customs dealing with hair come about? Like, why is loose hair
a sign of a loose woman?
Loose woman? Like,
yeah, I don't know.
It's strange. Like, it's like, it's not just Muslims. You're like I said, your mom was Catholic.
Yeah. But she was also like the crazy,
the
ridiculous Catholics.
I grew up around a lot of Orthodox Jews. Women they have to wear a wig or cover their hair with the kerchief. The men have to always cover the top of their head with the yarmulke or
some hat,
that big fuzzy tire.
Those are the best.
Those hats look warm. But yeah, I mean, a lot of customs have something to do with hair.
Well, I think in a lot of religion, again, kind of like what you said before, victory is written, the history is written by the victors. You have these men basically telling people how to live their lives, right? I mean, even the Bible that as we know it, wasn't written in that moment. It was written years later. And I think things are added, right? All of a sudden, kind of like, I always get on you. I mean, obviously not in any kind of strict way because I couldn't care less, but Fish Fridays. Yeah. And you're like, what the hell does any of that mean?
It's nonsense. It's seriously some guy with a big hat said, you know what? I don't like eating meat on Friday, so everybody's got to eat fish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe he was not only the guy with the big hat.
Maybe his business.
Maybe his business was he was a fish seller.
Yeah.
And then he's like, all right, everybody has to eat fish on a Friday.
Yeah.
And
2,000
years later, people are still doing it.
Yeah, for whatever reason.
And I have no idea it was just because Joe Funny had in this fish store.
I mean, you can make a case like this for any kind of religion, I guess, or any kind of zealotry.
I mean, if you look at it all logically, most of the rules in religious texts are just there to... I mean, if they weren't there, we probably wouldn't have had societies. It would have been just in complete anarchy.
Yeah.
These were rules that were put in place, and in the absence of any kind of like military authority, which there were, but some places there weren't. The tiny village. How are you going to keep the tiny village
in line?
Everybody in line. You say, okay, well, if you do this, God's going to kill you.
God's going to be mad.
God's going to punish us. Everybody's got to get in line. We all got to jump on the system because it's the only thing that's going to keep us safe.
Like those Sunday morning cartoons, Goliath. God won't love you if you go in the cave, Davy.
That's not such a good idea,
Davy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not to change the topic, but it's kind of interesting. You and I were talking previously about the Black Plague, and I didn't know that. You told me, like, obviously when certain societies are down or suffering through crisis, it's always look who to blame. And you had mentioned, like, oh, why doesn't this happen to the Jews? And you were saying, well, because the Jewish people have like all these crazy rules about
they have a lot of customs about the food that they eat and the
how it's consumed and the preparation.
How it must be prepared and cleaned. And because of that, they generally got sick less.
Right. Whereas the other people
who are just like, oh, I want you to cut up that meat that's been laying there for a week. And that knife over there, it's covered in feces, but just wipe it on your apron. It'll be fine. How did
we even survive?
They all got violently ill. Why is that happening? Oh, it's because those Jews and their devil, they did something. They cursed us. No, they just clean their cutlery.
Yeah. Or they only use the cutlery for certain things.
Yeah, seriously. There's a different one for dairy than there is for
meats
meat
and stuff.
And
that makes sense.
It was, and why? Because God said so. It wasn't because some guy was just like, I built a microscope and there's all these little critters crawling all over it that had nothing to do with that. There wasn't any ancient microscope. It was just because they realized over time, hey, you know what? I felt a lot better when I wasn't mixing my cheese and my meat together. Maybe there's something to that.
Yeah.
And some guy with a funny hat said, "Hey,
let's throw that in the book.
It's God. It's God. Write it down."
Getting back to this movie, even in a conservative, repressed society, you will always have sex workers. Prostitution is the oldest profession, as they say. How do you think it still like thrives in such a repressed culture?
Yeah, that was kind of surprising to me. I didn't think that sort of thing happened. I mean, you're always hearing like the authorities are telling you how things are in countries like that. I mean, remember that one guy, I think it was one, I forgot which country. I don't know. I think it may have been Iran. I think it was Iran when that was like that skinny guy with the short hair was in charge. He was saying that, homosexuality doesn't exist in Iran.
Sure it doesn't.
It's like, okay. Sure, buddy. But it probably didn't exist because if you got found out, you were stoned to death or thrown in jail or something. So you'd think that, the prostitution would be something that's like not done,
Right. But it serves.
But apparently, I guess because this, like you said, this was based on true events.
True events, right.
And the guy wouldn't have been a killer if these corrupt women didn't exist.
Right. So, which leads me to my next question: if he lived in a place that was even more repressed and conservative, where maybe this didn't exist, what would his go-to have been? I wonder.
I'm sure he would have found something.
Yeah.
They mixed their meats and cheeses.
You know what?
It's like,
he should have applied for a job at the morality police.
Yeah. Why was he being a builder? He was clearly passionate about cleansing. Maybe the morality piece aren't doing enough because apparently prostitution wasn't something that they threw these women in jail for.
No.
They were just out where they were out, and even the cleric was just like, they have all life is precious, even the prostitutes.
Right. Well, he did say something that was kind of interesting and sort of enlightened, although it might have just been talk for him, where he was like, these women, there's a reason why they're that way. It's poverty or circumstance. So, we don't judge, whatever.
You don't like go into that profession because everything's great.
Great. And that's true. That's absolutely true. And you sort of see that with some of these women, like the first woman. It's so heartbreaking to watch, right? Because it's like single mother. She's putting like her child was asleep, and she kisses the child, and she's like, "I'll be back before you're awake," whatever. Yeah. And then she goes out to do these things to make money, and on top of that, she has a drug problem. Yeah. So
that was like a good storytelling on part of the filmmaker to really humanize the victims.
These women,
here. Because like you were saying. Was this film like part of, I guess, Iran's film industry or whatever?
I think so.
Or was it some? Because I saw like a lot of Danish stuff in
French
the credits.
At the beginning. Yeah. I think that. Well, I think the filmmaker, right, is from this region, but I think.
But this wasn't like a film that was like released in Iran.
Probably not. Yeah. I feel like maybe in the larger cities, but. It's not in like little rural areas. I don't think anybody saw this, but I think that there's a story here that merits repeating and being highlighted, and that's that kind of what we were saying before, this zealotry, this fanaticism that twists people. I mean, religion can be good, but it can also be bad, and I think that you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful with your gods and what you worship, because sometimes you think that you're doing something for the greater good, but is it really? It's sort of like what the reporter says, like, who made him the authority on what's right and wrong?
Yeah.
So 8.5, I think absolutely. If you have a second, definitely definitely check out 2022's Holy Spider, which is streaming right now on Netflix. It's a little under 2 hours, probably rated R. Yeah, I agree with you. I completely forgot about that scene in the car.
I would probably say NC-17.
Yeah,
just for that one little bit, because you don't see stuff like that in a rated R movie.
No, I mean, you see a phallus. Yeah. Yeah, I was like, it was like jarring.
Not only that, but something's being done to it.
It's being serviced. Although he didn't pay her the full rate because she didn't make him come.
Yeah.
Oh, good God. Some of the stuff in this film was like, are you putting me on? Like every once in a while I would look at you and you would look at me like, what? What am I watching? What am I listening to? These poor women. There, but for the grace of God, go I, right? So please, please, please don't judge sex workers. There's a reason why they're sex workers. And don't do God's bidding. Do something else. Go plant a tree.
Or don't do what some crazy person says God thinks
that you should be doing. Yeah.
Especially,
go plant a tree
when it involves killing people.
Or go feed some homeless people.
God doesn't want you to kill anybody.
Yeah. And all right, that's it from us. And we will bid you all a...
Good night.
Good night.